and welcome to episode 2 of YAI. I'm your host Harry, joined again by Steve House.
Hi.
And yeah, we're gonna chop up a little bit and go for it. Talking about sort of synthetic data, sort of generated from AI.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole, deep fakes and the fact that the voices are so hard to recognize now, and it's probably just going to keep getting more so and more so complex and difficult to tell apart from the real life.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's loads that's going to change, isn't there, over the next few years? Like I sort of think this one's quite a difficult one to look at because you've always been able to have fake stuff, haven't you? Like for ages,
definitely.
like fake.
Since Photoshop has
Exactly, yeah. So you've always been able to do things that are fake, and people would probably, I don't really know, but I'm guessing in like when Photoshop and stuff started going crazy in the early 2000s, like people would maybe say the same then. But that never really caused any major issues, I don't think. You know what I mean? I don't know. There might be news stories where crazy stuff's happened, but I don't really know about them if there are. I think the problem maybe is that the fact it's not actually the fact that there's fake data, it's the fact that you can generate loads of fake data like really, really quickly. So like fake pictures. At the moment, fake video, yeah, there are deep fakes, but they take quite a lot of effort to produce. I think. I don't think they're just. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, you've got to have like a decent model and like a big server to run on and so on. I think it's hard. It's still fairly hard to make a really good deep fake, just out the straight out on your computer or whatever. But the definitely with images, the fact that you can just set up like a Twitter bot or something just to tweet fake news, you know what I mean? And it can come up with really good articles that are just completely fake, you know what I mean? There's nothing really stopping you from doing that, or, so I think it's less the fact that it's fake, it's more the fact that the volume that I think they'll be able to produce, do you know what I mean, is going to make potentially have a big impact.
Yeah, like you say, the speed in which they can the speed in which they can produce. That sort of goes on to what we were talking the other day about the. I know we're sort of instantly jumping from topic to topic here, but we're talking about the speed in which the plugins work.
Yeah,
and that's what's going to set it apart. And
that's it.
That's what's going to,
I think, that's the sort of same sort of use case in the sense that but just going back to that with the you could create a fake image. Just thinking about it in more detail, you could create a fake image on Photoshop. You'd have to sit there, even like if you want to create a really good fake image, then no one's going to know. Like, you're talking hours of work, you know what I mean? Whereas, and like, you could write a fake article, make a fake website and pretend that like something awful's happened, do you know what I mean? Or whatever. Or you could write a fake thing about the opposite politician or whatever, do you know what I mean, kind of thing. But you had to write it and it took you the time. Whereas now, when you go onto Twitter and you're reading a tweet, what's the chance it's written by an AI bot? You know what I mean? It's like that's going to go up and up and up and up and up. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So, if you're trying to disturb a political campaign or disturb a be disruptive in terms of understanding what you want to disrupt in some way by producing some fake stuff. It's no longer like, oh, there's one fake article. It's like, well, I'm just going to get a Twitter bot or something like that to produce fake stuff after fake stuff after fake stuff after fake stuff. And I think just bring that into education, like students. It's really important that we even more so educate students on the fact, like by students I mean like young kids, on the fact that not everything they read is going to be real, you know what I mean, kind of thing, and not everything that they're going to see is going to be real, and soon most videos, are they real or are they not? Now, if we want to get into the techniques of how they can deal with that, I think I've got some ideas on that. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in of ways of, like, you could like watermarking video and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's a massive thing. I've got a couple of friends who are graphic designers, and she's currently doing some work for a festival, and they had so many sort of specifications about when she was submitting the work, and she also had the putting the watermarks on it and everything, just because they were quite simply be able to take that and then change it. But I mean, they've always been able to do that. That's that's not unique to AI as such. But it's definitely made a lot easier.
But it's like if what we're saying is every time you make a video, Like every time, let's just say we're 2 years down the line, every video could be fake as much as it could be real, in the same way that every article now could be fake as much as it could be real.
Yeah.
Like that, let's say we're at that stage. So what do we do with video? Like what's the actual, what can we do to make it really obvious that it's not fake? Do you see what I mean? And that's when watermarking it comes into play. So, but the problem is, obviously, it can't just be like a basic watermark, because obviously your system, you just make an AI that makes a watermark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of, there's nothing to stop you just making an AI that creates a watermark. So from the way that you could do it is you could have like a centralized system where you could have like a when you let's say you use an app to take a video. When you take that app, it encrypts the video in terms of like with a code, bit like a password. So, and again, like just like a normal password, you need the private key to be able to edit. So you can look at the video, a public key. This is getting a bit technical, but when you got a password, you can or something like a JSON web token, you can see that where it comes from. It can hold a lot of information, and you can decrypt that information using the public key. So that's made available, so anyone can do that. But what you can't do is kind of like access it fully, because you need the private key to do that. Do you see what I mean? So what you do is like some central company, like let's say you set up a company tomorrow, and what it is, it's an app which takes a video and encrypts in the video. Now that's another question about how you do that, but like it encrypts somehow in the video your key, where your key encrypts it like a passcode. So when anyone views it, if they've got the public key, they can check to see what date's on it, but they can't change the date without the private key.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? So it's like a password on a file or on a document, but this time it's like in the video.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So like it's got to obviously be in the pixels of the video. So I'm not actually sure like how that's coded into it, but like that's the kind of principle of it, that you could create that system, and then whenever so let's say YouTube then go, oh well, we've got the public key so we can check that video. Now the only problem then is you can't edit the video.
No,
you can't do anything to the video. You put a filter on the video, it's going to mess up, probably going to mess up the encryption. Do you see what I mean?
Course,
so it's like probably cutting the video, all sorts of stuff's going to be affected. So obviously, when you're making a news program or whatever, people, I'm assuming, edit the videos, even if it's just taking a section of the video or cutting it or zooming out of it or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be, they're going to do things with it. So being able to, it's not as great. Now the other side of things is that's a private key, and the issue then is someone now controls all those videos. Do you see what I mean? So that central company now, who owns that private key, in a way controls the legitimacy of those videos, because like if they just go and say, I'm going to delete that private key and change it for another one, suddenly
so we're putting
all of the like we do that already. We do it with banks,
of course,
and we're quite happy doing it with banks. But are we quite happy doing it with like
a decentralized?
A centralized system. But then that's when you get the point of decentralization. So I don't know how well people are versed in things like crypto, which are decentralized.
So that's where my head was going.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you can do is you can create on a blockchain. You can create a blockchain that's then used to encrypt those files, and therefore then you've got a decentralized system where you've got, saying that the videos are legit. So I think there's going to be, obviously, I'm just saying this from the point of view of like someone that reads a bit and is involved in the tech world. There'll be people out there a lot better at this than me, but they're going to be looking at it saying, right, what can we, people are going to come up with great ideas to deal with that. Yeah. So I think that's going to, and so in the same way nowadays, we do check, we should at least check sources more. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't just believe everything we read, I hope. Do you know what I mean?
You'd help.
Yeah, so you do check sources more, because you know that things can be fake. If you saw a picture in the 80s or the 70s, you would probably go, you would probably be very unlikely to go, I think that's a fake picture.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know the story. I can't remember their names, but they in the 1912s, those 1912s, early 1900s, two girls took some pictures of little fairies. So, and they did it with like little cardboard cutouts. But obviously, it's like proper old school photographs.
Right. Yeah.
And for years, they were claimed that they were real fairies. Do you see what I mean? Because obviously everyone sort of really looked at the photo and was like concrete evidence. You know what I mean? Kind of like exactly. So they didn't have Photoshop. They didn't have really. I'm sure they had techniques and stuff, but they didn't really have like full ways of editing.
Charlie Chaplin did all right.
Yeah, exactly. So so you know what I mean? It's like they whereas like now, if you saw pictures of fairies, you would just be like, fake.
Yeah,
I think so.
100%. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
pretty much most of the time anyway. So that's kind of I guess the issues and the more subtle variants, aren't there? It's not like someone is saying, "Oh look, this politician said this" when they didn't, and it's
Yeah.
not like unbelievably bad. It's just like it looks bad.
Just
Do you see what I mean?
that,
I think so.
just
It's
that,
like
yeah.
it just looks a bit bad, if you like, and
But
that's
believable.
but believable. So you
Yeah.
just create something that can just start creating that, and that's why I think it's gonna how you educate students on what to believe. Suddenly, it's like you really do need to check your sources, and I think soon it'll be incorporated into that. Is going. You need to check the on the decentralized blockchain that this is a correct video, and you need to use whatever to do that. Do you see what I mean? But like I say, that there's always going to end up being, if I can't see unless the whole app itself that you're doing it with has like a sort of editing feature where it can only edit certain things like lighting or something like that. I don't see how you can really fully do that because, like I say, you got to. Are going to want to edit it in some way.
Absolutely.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
You're going to want to probably edit most of those videos in some way that's
sure.
going to mean it's no longer real, if that makes sense. So, or no longer can be defined as real. So that's a big one. That's going to be a big challenge for schools and just universities or whatever in terms of training people a bit on look what's real data. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in what's real?
Of course. I mean, straying away from sort of perhaps the challenges that's faced upon AI, the aspect of being able to use now tutors and having one-on-one tutor bots, as you are very familiar with. Yeah. But
I think there's loads of
just the positives.
There's loads of ways that I don't the generative stuff that we just talked about, the idea of generating videos and stuff, amazing. Like I want I can totally picture going in 2 years' time, right? I want, maybe 5 years' time, whatever. It could be 6 months the way things are going, but I want to learn about some topic. You know what I mean? I want to learn about the First World War. It could be like, right, well, my AI is going to create me a little mini film to watch. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. It's like all about what happened in the First World War, or it could be that it's like I want to learn about chemical bonding, ionic bonding, covalent bonding, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing to stop an app going and making, right, I'm going to make a video that's kind of bespoke to you because it can like know what you've previously learned, know where you're up to at the moment. You go on YouTube, have a look, that's great. There's probably loads of stuff on YouTube, but you'll scan. You probably watch one and be like, oh, that's way too complicated. Watch one, oh, that's way too simple. Oh, that one's just right. And obviously finding the right video to watch is always difficult. But you can imagine like a tutor that you're working with all the time. Right, I need to learn about ionic bonding. Well, I know you know about certain types of bonding. I know you know a bit about this. I know you know about chemical elements, so I'm going to teach you it this way. That's a definite. That whole deep fake stuff, that is the equivalent technology. It's just making you a fake video about something and making it more exciting and making it more interesting for you. So it isn't just negatives. There's definitely loads of positives. It's just that obviously that with any new technology it has both sides to it.
I think that's quite a unbelievable thing in itself. If it can learn, the best ways that you learn as an individual, and whether it be sort of teaching it back to something, talking back to it, or just different ways that people learn, being able to pick up on that and the subtleties of that, and the nuances within that I think that's unbelievable.
100%. And I think that there's always this problem when you're a teacher of how much information do you sort of withhold either in your brain or on paper about a student. Do you see what I mean? So it's like it's all like you work out over time. You go, oh, they're really good at reading, they're not really good at reading. You know what I mean? You might go, oh, you might be a lot more specific than that, but you can't. If you teach a secondary school, particularly, you teach 30 students and then you teach that 6-7 times over in multiple classes, then 30 students, that's 210 students. How much information can you hold about that student, about what they know and what they don't know?
Absolutely.
So it's like you learn that they're very confident, they're not very confident, they're all those different bits. But theoretically an AI tutor can like just basically hold what you know in its mind, you know what I mean, in its own sort of situation. So there's nothing to stop it knowing everything that you know. As a student, and then being able to say, right, the next little bit is this. Do you know what I mean? Like almost like what a one-to-one tutor would do, but taking it to the next level.
I wonder. I've obviously reading read quite a few blogs and teacher forums on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and it's so funny seeing the divide of people who are all for that and very happy to start incorporating it, and then obviously there's a massive divide, and it feels like the most invasive thing in the world because it's what they're it's so personal to them, the teaching, which is completely understandable. I get that, but it's they might be left with perhaps no choice with the rate things are going, that they're just going to have to incorporate it.
Well, it's the case with everything as technology moves on, that things change and you do have to end up probably incorporating stuff. The question basically at the moment is, are we overhyping AI or are we underhyping it in a way? Because it's gone mad in a year, but is it going to keep going crazy? Do you see what I mean? So at the moment, obviously working in this sector, building tutor bots and things like that, there is some definite, there's loads of stuff that can be done, but there's also loads of things that you still require a teacher for. Do you know what I mean? Because it's you can't really build a tutor to really motivate a student and really get them really excited. You can build a tutor to really help a student and really, be very precise and possibly even better than a teacher in the sense of being able to say, this is where your knowledge is, and this is where you're going to go. Do you see what I mean? Where you should go next. You can definitely, that's a great thing. But in terms of being able to get a student really buzzing about a subject, or just being random and incorporating different topics, and having a chat with a student about something that really helps their confidence, what I mean, that kind of thing. That's I'm not saying that won't exist. Obviously, if you can create a robot that just looks like a teacher, talks like a teacher, and knows everything a teacher knows, then I guess that's when that happens. But we're still not there. We're definitely not there. So the idea that it's just going to wipe teachers out is just nonsense, particularly in the next long time. Do you know what I mean? So it's more that it's going to be a tool that I think people are going to have to more and more incorporate, and it probably is a bigger change for an average teacher than maybe the introduction of having a computer in every classroom, you know what I mean, and having a whiteboard that's live and can do things like that. Was a big change. But I argue that this is probably a bigger change. Do you see what I mean?
Definitely. And then obviously with change comes a lot of fear, and that's like I said, that's where the divide is, isn't it?
And I think schools, it's going to be really, really important that schools provide teachers with the opportunity to get trained up on this stuff. That's huge. You know what I mean? People, that's partly why we're doing this podcast, is to let people know about things that are coming up. You know what I mean? Things that are changing, what they can use. And I think that's one of the key things here. Is it's give staff the opportunity to get onto ChatGPT, use it. Don't look. The problem is lots of schools, it's we're going to block it. It's so you're going to block it for 2 years, then suddenly you're going to realise you need it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because everyone else has got, and then suddenly it's going to be oh, now we need it, but our teachers are 2 years behind, and I'm being trained up on it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's quite a crucial thing that schools need to take on board.
In the same sort of vein of that, and being behind and whatnot, something that I read about in the sense of things. So. Schools perhaps in less well-off areas or what have you, they with them having perhaps limited internet access, is that going to keep them behind? So is the poverty line and the AI, will there be a correlation, do you think? Because that's quite.
Are you talking worldwide, or are you talking in the UK?
I mean, right now I'm talking in the UK, but I suppose worldwide.
You see, I think in the UK, the schools tend to be. I'm speaking. Someone is going to say that I'm wrong here, obviously. But generally, schools are able to say, "Here's a laptop." You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Most places get internet access. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. I would argue that most places have it. Are some people going to miss out? Yeah, I think they are. But you are talking fractions of a percent in the UK, I think. You know what I mean? Just going on the general stats of how many people have a mobile phone, how many people have broadband, you know what I mean? Or lots of people are stopping having broadband to save money, but that's usually because they now just use their phone. They don't use a laptop or something at home. So obviously obviously going mobile, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, but most places, most households, I believe, have internet access of some form. Obviously it depends how young this ends up going. If this ends up going down to 5 and 6 year olds, they're not going to have a phone or whatever. But you know what I mean? I just think generally most of them, now worldwide, that's a different question. Obviously there's countries where probably 40% of the population don't have internet access, or don't have home internet access at the very least. Do you see what I mean? Or don't have devices that are smart enough to do the actual stuff that was required on it. Now, some people see AI as a leveling up thing potentially in the long run, and there's loads of arguments to say around that, and it basically just depends on whether it ends up being something that's owned by a few people. Do you know what I mean? Or whether it's something that's shared out, but that's a political thing that is difficult to say, you know what I mean, kind of thing, like where that's going to go. But
treading on some funny
territory. Yeah, exactly. But the argument really is that I think in the UK, majority of people will have enough access to be able to make some use of AI, if that makes sense.
I think, I mean, I don't know. It's not that I'm disagreeing with you, just in the sense of it being taught correctly, though. Being taught correctly in the right way. I feel like not everywhere is going to be taught. Like you say, there's some places that are going to block it. So it'll be interesting seeing that divide and how that correlates.
It's like how people it's that kind of thing. It's like, how do people get acquainted with it? If it's blocked, then they're going to have a very different point of view on it than if it's available everywhere. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like we're coming down to the idea of schools want to block it because they don't want it to be used to do, essays and stuff like that. But the reality is people are still going to do it. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Kind of thing. And it's like, no matter how much you try and block it, you're not going to be able to block it to that extent. No. And if any school's out there saying a teacher using ChatGPT or whatever to help with a lesson plan is incorrect, then I'd suggest probably leaving that school, because I just think that's just a totally silly take on it. It's a perfectly legitimate tool that will help you in many ways. It's just like saying you can't use the internet to plan your lessons. You know what I mean? Like that surely went out a long time ago. So the same principle.
Just last thing that I just wanted to talk to you about is just Gemini. Okay. Google Gemini.
Yeah.
Coming out and about thoughts.
Yeah.
What's your stance on it? Because I know we were talking about it the other day, and you said it's similar to what you said earlier about the plugins. How quick is it going to be?
I think I don't know enough about it to maybe we'll talk about it fully another time, where I've got some real background on it. But again, it's all these new things. It's all about, just like anything, it's like usability. Like ChatGPT was mad, made it really, really useful to, just loads of stuff, teachers, anything, any occupation where you've got to generate content, you know what I mean? Massive difference. The plugins came along. I'd say they're probably really impactful in very specific use cases, but as a general rule, they don't feel to me as impactful. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to ask a question and ChatGPT starts to search the internet, it takes ages, and I just go to Google and Google it. Do you see what I mean? And I think that's the thing. So it's like the same with this Google Gemini. It's like speed is always going to be a thing. We're so used to things being unbelievably fast that's what we're going to anticipate with this. So I think for me that's all I've really got to say at the moment. It will be interesting to see how quick things are on it, and how that makes a difference. The
plugins, I was sort of having a play with it earlier. Obviously it's got open table, so you can book a restaurant. It'll look at what restaurant availabilities are near you. Which is a great idea if you like you say, if you can get there quick. But it took just as long as it would have been for me to go on Google and type it in, or go on my phone and type it in and book the restaurant. So it's the idea is great.
But I think it's like, if it gets to the point where it's like you can imagine, I do again, something to talk more about next time, but I do believe someone is going to win on or some people are going to win on the AI assistant.
Yes.
So at some point it's going to, I think 2 or 3 years time, you're just going to say, book me a restaurant Friday night, and it's going to put you somewhere good. You're going to be there. It's going to be local to where you are. It's not going to, like, now if you said to, it's a bit like if you said to someone that I don't know how well different people, like if I said to I don't know, one of my best friends, book me a table for Friday, I know they'd probably get it right. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? They'd probably get somewhere right because they know you. Because they know me, and they'd know not to book one restaurant, to book another one, and they'd maybe know where I'd likely be, that kind of thing. Do you see what I mean? And so I guess if you really incorporate that into your life, you really incorporate an assistant into your life, and it's like having your own PA or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like constantly around you, knows what your plan is for Friday pretty much, it's listening to everything that you say, so it knows it to that extent. That's pretty scary, isn't it? But the idea. So but you can sit there and say to it, oh, book me a thing for Friday, and it'll go, yeah, on Friday you've already said you're going to do this. And you go, oh yeah, I did. Okay, Saturday then, and then it'll book it, and it'll be like there, and and you don't have to worry about it. That's a massive time saver, isn't it?
Huge.
Do you see what I mean? And I like on a fairly unimportant topic, but it's still a big time saver of having to go and like book or call or think or whatever. So there's stuff like that. I think it's that there's loads to talk about there, but I think we'll probably leave that for another time.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Well, I think that was great. So we'll wrap up there, but next time we've got a load of new topics to talk about already.
Yeah, brilliant.
Nice one.